everyone. Welcome to whatever week this is, week 20 of the semester. Today we're going to talk about UI and UX. These are two things that you guys might have heard about, but maybe you don't exactly know what they mean or why they're important when you're making your websites. Real quick, just before we start, some updates for you guys. We have decided to extend the deadline for the final project, so instead of being due on May 8th, we're going to give you guys until May 12th. So hopefully that gives you a couple more days to finish up and make things look extra nice. Hopefully this presentation will help you kind of think of some ideas of how to make your website stand out and look really cool. Also, continue signing up for office hours. You guys have been using the spreadsheet. If you have a better way of doing office hours, please let us know. We're open to suggestions. Also, continue to use the Piazza. I know it's been taking us a couple days to answer your questions sometimes, but we are checking that, and we will do our best to help you guys with that. Also, obviously, this time is really difficult for all of us, and it's not getting any easier. So if you have any concerns, please email us, reach out to us. We can always figure out some accommodations if you guys need extra time on things. So moving on to today's goals, basically what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about what exactly UI and UX is, why it's important, what's the difference between the two, what makes good UI, what makes good UX, and then we're going to go over some additional good practices that you guys should use as web developers, such as performance, SEO, and responsive design. Okay, so starting off with these two terms, UI means user interface and UX means user experience. So UI design is what makes an interface beautiful, and UX design is what makes an interface useful. So obviously UI can include things like color and fonts and stuff like that, and then UX can include things like navigation, but these two terms kind of work together in order to create an exquisite website experience. Don't know why I use that word. So basically what we need to do is make our website look good and work well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about, what makes good UI. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is simplicity. So basically when you want good UI on your website, you want to limit your colors, fonts, graphics, and text. This is a kind of design trend that's been getting more and more popular. When you think about the amount of websites there are out there, and if you look at kind of older versus newer websites, you notice that as the years go by, we kind of tend to gravitate towards more simplistic sites. One company that kind of really made this, I guess, blow up or do really well is Apple. If you think about Apple websites, Apple products, they really, they have their one font, they have their few color choices, and they really don't rely heavily on crazy colors or flashy designs or anything like that. So for example, when you look at this website, there's so many different colors, fonts we see. Here we have this weird logo on top of a colorful photo, and things kind of aren't looking really too simple. When we compare it to this website, we see that this website is really simple. It only has the one font. It has kind of a basic color scheme, and it's really, really beautiful if you compare these two, right? Another example of this, so this is an About Team website. Here we have a lot of different photos, a lot of different colors. We have the red font, the black font, the gray font, the white font, the yellow font. Then we have these different colored backgrounds, and everything is getting kind of a little too busy. And if we look at something like this About page, where we have this really beautiful linear structure with only the white background, we can see how much more sophisticated and modern this one looks. Another example here is this crazy red weird logo. That's hard to read, first of all. The font is horrible. The colors are too much. All the words on the page kind of have this weird like shadow effect. So if you compare that to something like this, you might say, oh, they put a lot more effort into this, but really this looks a lot more polished, clean, and finished. So you definitely want to try to make your designs look like this. Okay, another really important element is consistency. So in this class, most of our websites have multiple pages, and that's how it is in the real world. And when you have users navigating through different pages, you want to make sure that you're consistent with your colors, your fonts, your graphics. You guys may be able to relate to this, but sometimes there are certain websites where you go to a different page on the menu and all of a sudden it looks like you're at a completely different website and you're like, hold on, where did I even click? So you want to make sure that as your users are navigating through your sites, you have consistent backgrounds, colors, fonts, things like that. So for example, if we look at the Trulia website, you see on one of the screenshots of their homepage, they have this search bar with this green button, and then on the other one it's a red button, so that's a really small thing, but it's not consistent. Another thing is the navigation bar at the top. So on one of the ones on the left, you see that there's no colored background, and then the one on the right has this green bar, so that's inconsistent. Also just using that the big white font versus the big black font, just little things like that kind of make you think that it's not the same site. Whereas on this one, they have consistency between the different links and they look like they're all on the same website. So these are from two different pages and you see that they still look very, very similar. Okay, so another really important part of this is color psychology. So if you have a certain kind of feeling that you want your website to convey, then you should definitely look into color psychology. Another really cool tool is this thing called Coolors, which I can show you guys right now. Okay, so this is basically this amazing website. I use this all the time. And if you go to generate here, it basically gives you, okay, thank you. It basically gives you all of these different color palettes that look good together. So you can kind of scroll through them by hitting the space bar. And then let's say I really want to have a blue website and I really like this blue, but I'm not really too sure about all the other colors. I can lock this color and then I can keep clicking through and find other colors that kind of work for me. So maybe I keep going and I really like this color. I can lock that, etc., etc. And then you can end up with a really nice color palette for your website. So definitely use this tool if you have no idea how to find colors that you like. Okay. So now we're going to talk about some color psychology. So these are some positive and negative attributes for different colors. This is based on some research that someone did at some point, so thank you to them. But basically this is important because maybe your specific concept for your website or your brand or whatever you're trying to make a website for, you might have some specific traits that you want people to feel when they look at your site. So for example, if you think about some, let's say, like financial things, so maybe when you think about a bank, for example, a lot of banks have blue websites or logos and stuff like that, and that's because the positive traits attributed with blue are like trust, loyalty, dependability, logic, security, things like that. So people kind of associate, more trustworthy feelings. If you think about maybe some investing things, like for example, Robinhood has a green logo and a green kind of app interface. So for green, if you look at the positives of that, it's like health, growth, prosperity. So that makes people kind of think that they're going to grow their money and be more financially prosperous and stuff like that. So for example, red can be passionate, energetic, fearless, but it could also mean like anger, danger, warning, So always try to think of the balances between these types of traits. We already talked about blue, and then green, of course. So just to think about that. And then this is a screenshot of the Coolers site, which I showed you guys. Okay, so another important thing is visual hierarchy. So basically on your website, the way that you arrange elements implies their importance. So you want to kind of have that goal in your mind and think about, what do I really want people to see when they first come to my site? And then what are kind of the less important things that they don't really need to know right away? So if you look at this flyer for Recycling Day, you have no idea where to look. You have no idea what's most important. Everything kind of has equal importance. The fonts are kind of all jumbled up, the sizes of the fonts, the icons, the colors. You have no idea where to look, right? But if you look at the hierarchy of this site, you see, okay, you get to the website and the first thing you know is that these are themes. They're bold and beautiful themes, and that's what you're looking for, and that's what you're going to find on this page. Another really important thing is negative space. So you want to kind of have space for the eye to kind of breathe and think about, okay, you know, what is really most important here? What should be emphasized? What should I focus on? So for example, if you look at this footer, this is all kind of jumbled up. There's no spacing between things. You do have space on the left and the right side, but there's no really space between elements. Whereas here you have things kind of in these columns. They have some space in between them, and you kind of have more space to look at it and think about, you know, how each of these elements are in relation to each other. So here we see that they have a really good use of negative space. There's padding above and below, so that's perfect. But then on another page, they have no padding at all, which is a little confusing, but who knows what happened. Maybe one of the interns made this site. Just kidding. Okay, the next thing you need to think about is audience. So knowing the audience for your website and styling elements accordingly. For example, here we have the Washington Post. The Washington Post is a website where people go to read news. So what do people care about? They care about the news, they care about headlines, and you know, probably most people visiting the site are used to paper newspapers, so that's kind of the style that you want to go for. You want to have these really bold headlines and you want to give people, you know, what they want. Whereas with the Cartoon Network, you have a completely different audience, right? So this probably is going to be kids. So you want pictures, you don't want as many words. You kind of want these bright, exciting little clips of everything. There's probably going to be videos and flashy things and little buttons everywhere. So that kind of attracts that sort of audience. Another thing is the latest design trends. So obviously there are certain things that were super cool even 5 years ago that right now would be kind of, you know, not so interesting to look at. So definitely keep up with blogs and articles and things like that if you're interested in this type of stuff. So for example, this used to be really popular design trend was like every single website looked like this. And now we hate that, and we kind of have more sites that look like this, where we have the navigation either on the side or on the bottom. You have more scrolling, so you kind of scroll through a site instead of just going to different pages. So that is a design trend that's kind of changed over the years. We used to see things like this a lot, where it was like these weird disconnected boxes where everything kind of was in its own little category and looked kind of weird. We don't like that. Now we have things like this, where we have one box, which kind of has all the information and looks a little bit better. Yay. Okay, another tip is to gather feedback. So obviously every time you design something, there are people that will be looking at it and using it. So, you know, you gotta ask for feedback and improve. Don't be afraid to send your website to a friend, a colleague, a teacher, a TA, whoever, and ask them for feedback. If you guys want to send it to one of us, we would love to give you feedback. If you would ask, you know, your parents, your neighbors, You can send them a link so you don't have to ask them in person, and this will be a great way to improve your design. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what makes good UX. So the number one thing when we think about this is what type of experience are the people visiting your website having? So we don't want to make people frustrated, we don't want to make them upset, we don't want to make them confused because they will never come back to our website again. A lot of the things in these slides come from this book called Don't Make Me Think, which is kind of the Bible of web usability. So basically here, we don't really have to think, right? So if we come to this website, we see, okay, we have on the side, we have all these categories. We're used to seeing this type of navigation on the side, so we know where to look for that. We see that there are some type of deals, and we can easily find whatever we're looking for. So this is a perfect example of not having to think too much about what you're looking for. Here, on the other hand, we have no idea where to go or what to look at. So first of all, the website is really busy. It doesn't really make any sense. We don't know where the navigation is. Is it on the left? Is it on the bottom? Is it on the bottom left? Is it on the top right? We don't know what all of these different buttons are doing, where to go, what's clickable, what's a video, what's a photo. So we don't really know where to look at all. So the fun part, looking at bad stuff. So different things, so this is kind of like a scale of obvious to not so obvious. So if we see, starting with the obvious, if we see a button that says jobs, we'll say, oh, cool, let's click it. That means jobs. If we see something that says employment opportunities, we're going to be like, okay, that's probably a job, so let's click that. If we see something that says Joborama, for example, we would be like, what is Joborama? Should I click it? Should I not click it? Should I keep looking? What is this going to take me to? And maybe some people would just exit your site at that point because they would be very, very confused about what is going on. So if we look at this, we basically have no idea what is a button, what is a text field, what you're supposed to click, what you're not supposed to click. So, just because we probably know how username and passwords stuff usually work, we might try to click and type in those boxes, but they don't look different than the login buttons, and nothing on here really looks like a button at all. So what the heck is clickable here? What are we supposed to click? What are we supposed to type in? It's super confusing. So how to improve this? You don't use the same styles for input boxes and buttons. You don't try to have a login and password reset at the same time. And most importantly, clickable things should look clickable and unclickable things should look unclickable. So for example, if we have a button like this on the left that says report and it's shaded, that's clearly something you can click. If you have a colored word, sometimes people are like, oh, okay, that's probably a link, I can click it. If it doesn't have any sort of underline, color, or button, probably no one will click on it. Okay, another thing, headings. So if you want headings to go with certain things, then you make them closer to the thing it's about, right? So on the left side, we have a really bad example of this because the headings are kind of in the middle, so you're not sure if it's actually a heading or if it's just a random word or sentence in the middle of two paragraphs. But here on the right, we see that when you put it closer to the bottom, it actually makes it more clearly a heading. Another thing is center aligning versus left aligning. So if you have a paragraph of text, you should always have it left aligned. Basically, this is because it's so much easier to read. If you have like a super short tagline or something like that on your website, you can obviously use center text and it looks good sometimes if it's just like a sentence. But if you want people to read like a full paragraph, you should definitely use the left align because it's just easier to read. Another thing with this website, there are way too many navigation items, so you don't want to do this to people, you don't want to overwhelm them. it just makes you immediately not want to be on this website because it's too much. Another thing here is if you have some type of form or survey, this is so much text that I don't even want to read it for this video, so I'm not going to. But if you had something like this, please help us improve the site to complete the survey, then people might actually do it, right? You're saying the same thing here as you are here, but here you kind of used 34 words, and here you took like however many words that is. Okay, so just to go through an example of this, we're going to go to this website. Okay, so if we look at this website, we might, oh my god, that's me. Sorry, I'm on this website. Interesting, that's my head on the right. Okay, so basically if we go to this website, we might see, okay, get involved, want to get involved with the Academy, start here. So here we have this button. This is a button that takes us to something. Okay, cool. Here we have another button. Okay, explore methods. Nice. Okay, cool. Here we have this, which takes you, okay, cool. So these three work. These are buttons. Then we keep going down. We see, okay, these are also links. They don't really look like links until you scroll, so that's not too good. Okay, mission. So here we're going to say, oh, there's more buttons. So let's, oh, this is not clickable. This is not clickable. This is not clickable. Okay, so that's a big usability error. So on the top, these sticky notes were all clickable, and on the bottom, these are not. So that's not good. Down here, all these icons also look clickable, but none of them actually are. So that's not good. Okay, and then down here, okay, enter email address. If I put my email, what happens? Nothing actually happens. Great, so that's not helpful. And then down here, these Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, so all of these links kind of look the same. So this is just like side note, but you kind of want things to look like, you know, the Facebook logo. These don't really look, since they're in red, they don't really look like what you would think they are. But okay, so not horrible, but the fonts, there's way too many different fonts. The colors, there's too many. And these, the big thing is that these are not clickable, which is really confusing for users. So that's kind of an example of some issues. So again, just make everything easy for your users. That's really our goal here. And lastly, some additional good practices. Optimize performance. So this is something where you should probably think about, you know, if everything on your website is an image, it might take longer to download. Limit the number of fonts so that there's less to download. Don't use images when you can use code, stuff like that. This is a really cool resource, this internet speed test for, you can basically put in your website and it'll tell you how long it takes to load your site. Another thing is SEO, which is search engine optimization. Basically, to have your website come up on Google, bots read your site and rank them. So in order to get the best ranking you can get, you kind of want to have certain words on your site that will, you know, Google can then say, oh, this website is about blah, 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 and return it when people search for that. So instead of having your website title as an image, have it as text, have page titles, and then use tags to establish hierarchy for bots so that they know what's on your website. And also make sure that your websites are good on mobile, desktop, iPads, blah, 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 blah. Because as you know, people these days have tons of different devices and device sizes, so you need to make sure that your designs are responding appropriately. So this is what we talked about with the media queries and stuff like that. And some ways to get better. First of all, be critical, look at your things, look at things that you've designed, and also, most importantly, look at things that other people have designed. And when you visit a site, think, oh, I really like this, I don't like this, I want to do this, I don't want to do this, things like that. Also get inspired. Feel free to steal ideas from other people, get inspired by other people, Dribbble, Squarespace, Weebly, all these places have really exciting new websites all the time that you can get inspired from. Keep up with trends, so think about, what are the latest web design trends of this year, practice, and get feedback. So just to get some, experience with being critical and looking at things to get inspired by, we're going to kind of look at some websites together. The MVA website. So basically, pretty much every single government website is pretty horrible. But we're going to start off with this one. So if we look here, we see that we have, first of all, so many different colors and fonts going on. Every single thing on this website looks like an ad. This weird slideshow is so ugly. It doesn't make any sense. Everything looks like it was made by a middle schooler. Down here we have these completely strange ways of looking at things. Why would they show me this map? What are these announcements? This navigation over here is just like completely strange. Let's see, down here we have some other random flyers and things, ads, I guess. So overall, this website is just not cohesive, not nice at all. These alerts that seem to be really important are really not that noticeable compared to all the other colorful stuff going on. It's just bad. And if we go through so let's say we want to go to the location site. So these backgrounds, geez Louise, they're just not nice. All of them are just pretty ugly. So that's not good. Yeah, basically you get the message. First of all, okay, side note, this photo is so creepy. Who took this photo? And why? Why would you put that on a government website? I don't know. I don't know who made it. I don't get it. But anyway, that's bad. So now that we've looked at two bad ones, why don't we do a nice one? So if we go to the Airbnb website, beautiful. So if we go to Airbnb, we see that we have all the elements that we kind of talked about, right? So first of all, this is Airbnb. You know their brand. You know what's going on. And you can kind of see that they have this little, obviously these are kind of related to the pandemic right now. Those aren't usually there, but they have this new introducing online experiences thing. Oh, this is cool. I didn't know about this. But everything is kind of like consistent, beautiful. They have their fonts are consistent. Everything has the white space. There's negative space. Everything is just honestly really beautiful. Let's see, online experiences. So it's just really nice. Everything, they have color still and they have photos and things, but it's kind of, not that overwhelming, and things are really well organized and really beautiful. So that's a beautiful website to look at for inspiration. Another example is Dropbox. So Dropbox, again, when you visit their site, it's really pretty. You have this sign up thing that's clearly what they want you to do. But as you start scrolling through, the sign up kind of goes away and you can focus on, what exactly they do. Something that Dropbox is really good at is having like really beautiful illustrations and color combinations. So they have really nice, things like this where a lot of websites don't have this, but it's really nice to look at and pretty. They have a lot of scrolling things like this, which is cool. And it's just to the point, like you just get it. You can go through to their different sites and you still always know this is Dropbox. It's consistent, it's pretty. So that's just a really nice website to look at. And their animations are cute. Okay, another website. This is called Krypton Trading. I think it's just a cryptocurrency something, Trading Bot. So their website it's just kind of unique, so I just wanted to show it because it's kind of fun. But basically, as you scroll, like things start to appear on the site. I'm good at making forecasts. To me personally, it's a little too, like, you guys can't tell because you can't see how slowly I'm scrolling, but it's like, the faster you scroll, the faster it goes, but it still feels like it's a little slow. Like it doesn't flow that well. But the diagrams are really cool, and overall it's really beautiful. So it's a nice site. And when you scroll back up, it kind of all does it in reverse, which is cool. But that was just a cool one that I wanted to show. Another one is this website called The Cool Club, which I don't even know what they do, honestly. I think they just make card games and like designs and stuff. But when you scroll over things, they kind of have these little pop-ups, which are really cute. And they have all these little designs that you can buy. And the reason I really like their site is that on their About page, they have this little animated octopus, which is I just really like. I think it's really cute. I really like when people have animations on their site. It's just like a really cute way to add a little something special. I don't even know what this page is. Stop. Oh. I don't know what this is. Oh, I don't know what this is. Oh, that's so funny. Wow. See, I didn't even know they had this. This is really fun. Okay, that was a side note, but it's pretty cool. Very nice. Okay, another website is this website called, this company called Anti-Gravity that makes filters, I think. So their website has this really cool 3D animation. This dot is my mouse. I don't know how they made this, but it's really beautiful. And if you go to the menu, let's see, they have basically all these like really cool little 3D things. If I go to their filter site, let's see. These do take a little bit longer to load, which is not ideal, but if you're making really cool animations like this, I think it's kind of worth it. Okay, so I guess these are the kinds of filters that they make. But yeah, they have these really cool like 3D things going on. So that is just a website that I like a lot. Okay, and then lastly, we have this arcade chat website. So this was actually made by someone last semester. So if let's see. I don't think I should have said not yet registered. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why this is so slow. Okay, so yeah, I don't know why I did login. Okay, so username, let's do Camille, email, sign up. Okay, so this is a website that one of the groups last semester made, and it's basically this website where you can just chat on different games, but this website really stood out to us because it's honestly so beautiful. Like, everything is so unique. They have these little little, I don't know what they're called, like emoticons? No, I don't know what I'm saying. But everything is just very cute. It has like a consistent style throughout, and when you click on a game, it has like all these, basically this like chat room where I can say hi, and then if someone else is in the chat room, they can see me, which they did using sockets. But everything is just really cute, and even though it's not that complicated, it's just really beautiful, and instantly makes it look really professional because they just were very consistent with the fonts and the styling of it. So shout out to them. They did a good job. Okay, so that's it for this week. Hopefully this was helpful. If you guys have any other questions about how to make a good website, or if you ever want to just send it over and ask for feedback, feel free. Stay safe, and I will talk to you soon, I guess. I guess I won't. Well, maybe if we do office hours. Alright, goodbye.